Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait What We Talk About podcast, episode 182. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma911. You can drop a follow over there, get notified when we go live, join in on the fun and conversation over there. But if you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken down topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show: likes, subscriptions, reviews, sharing it with people you think would enjoy it. Whatever it is, it may seem small, but you can help the channel grow immensely through that, and we would appreciate you for it. Today, we're going to be talking some movies, talking some games. We're going to be talking about Rogue Legacy 2, and we're going to be talking about the future of DC films. What could work? What could make them successful, or maybe a little bit more interesting? We'll see. But let's start with Rogue Legacy 2 and my impressions of that. So, over the past couple of weeks, I've been playing a lot of Rogue Legacy 2. Heard about this game from 61 Indie and Mr. K-Step over on 61 Indie and the Trophy Room. Heard about this game for a while. Heard about the first game and how it was a very good and well put together roguelite, one of those, roguelite, in terms of gameplay and the game flow and the world building, stuff like that. And it released, Rogue Legacy 2, I believe released on PC and Xbox a while ago, but finally came over to the PlayStation brand and side of things recently, a few weeks ago. So I decided to give it a try, dive into it. And, man, I've been really enjoying my time with it. Now, if you don't know what the roguelite/like genre is, it's essentially you go in as your character, you're tackling these dungeons, tackling these monsters, puzzles, bosses, whatever. And every time you die, you essentially reset. If it is roguelike, when you die, you are hard reset. There's nothing you carry over, gain from each run. It is just start point, end point, try and make it all the way through. Roguelite is the same concept of gameplay. Live, die, play through it, get as far as you can, but then you carry over elements that will help your character improve over time. So Hades is a great example of this title that obviously blew up a few years ago and we've talked about on this podcast. But this one has similar elements where you'll carry over, your characters will grow and improve over time to kind of help your experience as a player, hopefully help you improve, get farther in the story, get farther in the game, and eventually reach the ending that you would like to. The fun with Rogue Legacy 2, probably Rogue Legacy 1 as well, is this is not the same character that you are repeating each cycle with. So, for example, Hades, which is the only really roguelite that I put a lot of time into, so I'm probably going to be drawing a lot of comparisons to it. With Zagreus, it's the same character of him. You're playing back and forth through eventually through the game. You'll learn more about his story, his relationship with the other gods, and you'll keep going through that progression with him, and he will know what journey you're on the entire time. With Rogue Legacy, the way they tell the story is it's through your legacy, it's through your heirs. So you can start with one character who's a knight, and he's going through this adventure, taking on the enemies, and eventually the forces of evil get to him, he dies, and you'll pick up with his heir. You'll get a choice of 3 that can be a variety of classes and have a variety of different attributes assigned to them. So it could be a male character that's a knight, a female that's a ranger or archer, or whoever that's this other type of character. And you get to choose what character you want. Each character has 3 definitives that are assigned to their characters. They have their weapon, which is their class. They have their ability, which is usually class specific, and then they have a magic spell that you can use. And usually that's random. There's also 2 other elements that can come at random with your heirs, which kind of adds to the fun and excitement of the game. And this could be maybe a trait on how they get their money. Maybe they only get money in chests, and it could be a really high amount, could be a really low amount, or maybe it's a gameplay mechanic where all the everything in the world is spooky, so it's like Halloween theme, or for some reason they have blue skin, or they're a clown, or it's one hit and you're dead. It's like a very wide variety of different traits and skills that you can pick from. So you kind of have to play or pick your heir to what's advantageous for you. Now, the game is nice where if they give you maybe more difficult traits that your heirs will have, for example, the one-hit KO, they'll try and entice you in playing those characters by giving you a gold buff. So like you'll get 28% more gold if you choose this heir compared to maybe a more safer heir and safer choice. If you pick them, then you'll just get the normal stuff. But it makes the game fun and exciting because of that variety that you can run into. So we've talked about the traits, but we also have the classes that you have. You have your typical like medieval-esque, journey, the knight, the archer. There's a Valkyrie character. There is a barbarian character. There's a mage. But then there's also some goofy ones that they kind of play around with. Like one is a cook or a chef. One is a boxer. So you got boxing gloves. You can go punch everything. There's... I'm trying to think of another one. I don't know if it's goofy, but there's like a dragon lancer one. And there's a samurai, and there's I think there's a bard that you can pick if you want to sing and stuff. So they have a wide variety of different classes there too, which each, typically play the same, but their weaponry and their attack is going to vary a little bit, which will add to the fun as well. So you're playing through the game, and your main objective is to get into this door, but you need to defeat, I think it's 6 bosses before you get into this door and you reach the end game, per se. And as I've been playing so far, this game's quite difficult. And it's not difficult in like a Dark Souls type thing, where it's like, oh my god, it gets frustrating at levels. It's just like, sometimes the amount of enemies on screen, not insane, but just kind of overwhelms you. Usually it leads to silly mistakes, and it's one of those things where it could get frustrating at times where your progress doesn't feel as significant as it does. However, on the flip side of the coin, I think they do a really good job of helping you grow as a character. So I mentioned the roguelite aspect of like you die, you can improve your characters and make your further runs or your future runs more beneficial, more progress being made, whatever it is. Your growth is there and you definitely feel it. The way they do this is their gold systems. So throughout the dungeons that you're going through, if you defeat enemies, you open chests, you destroy objects around the world, occasionally money will drop out, gold, you'll pick it up, and you can invest that gold into your characteristics, your traits from that point forward. So if you wanted to unlock a new character class, you can invest in that. Or you can make your attack better, or your health better, or your armor ability better, or you can carry more armor, or whatever it is. Wide variety of things that they allow you to kind of invest in to improve. And you definitely as a player see that over time, where in the first world, man, I really struggled in this area with this type of enemy. Over time, you can just blast through regions, blast through different areas like it's a cakewalk, and you'll recognize that and be like, damn, I remember being hung up here, but now just whoop, zip right through, no problem. And it's very rewarding as a player just to see that progress you're making. And that's a brilliant thing with any game design. It's just like you want that perfect slope of like difficulty and player progression of like you feel like you're making those steps even in the hardships of defeat, loss, whatever it is. It never gets to the point where it's too difficult or whatever it is that it makes you not want to stop playing. It's this nice smooth growth progression where the work you're putting in is what you're getting out in terms of reward, gameplay, story, whatever it is. And it's great to see. I had something and I lost it. What is a little... Oh, okay, sorry. Another aspect that they do that's really good is in each of the worlds, you'll learn a different ability that will allow for the gameplay to kind of expand that much more. So what I mean by that is in the base, you have your attacks, you have a dash, and over time, you'll learn different roles that will allow you to be a little bit more mobile and figure out puzzles a little bit easier. So for example, there is a spin kick maneuver that you will learn on early on. This will allow you to spin kick projectiles away or take out certain enemies or jump up to higher platforms by like ricocheting off of them. There's that. There is a dash. There's a double jump. There's other things that kind of add to your growth as a player that also helps and just makes things more interesting. One thing I wish was a little bit better was just the explanation of some of the aspects that they have in terms of saving money or the abilities you do have, what you should be investing to. Sometimes it seems like a lot of information is thrown at the player and not all of it really gets the explanation that it deserves. And it's one of those that's a little bit more steeper in the learning curve department where I'm like, I don't fully understand this mechanic. And I would say that was pretty much the only downside that I have had. Other than that, it's more of just a player experience type thing where as you get along into the story, obviously you want to progress it. So you want to get to a certain point. So let's say like it's the third world, right? You want to get to the third world's boss, beat them so you can move on. And granted, you do get the opportunity to fast travel to different locations. With this, I think most of the roguelite genre and roguelike, your dungeons, your rooms are going to be randomized. And that's here too. Rooms are all randomized, so you kind of have to search for where certain things are to improve or where the eventual doors to the next world are. You can lock these into place after a certain amount of time and after meeting a certain character, which is a great resource. So what I mean by that is if I'm trying to get to World 2, if I eventually lock it into place, it's always going to be to the right and a certain spot. So I know, okay, I can always, if I wanted to, if I didn't fast travel for whatever reason, if I want to, I know exactly where to go. I can kind of streamline that process for myself of running through World 1, to get to 2, to get to 3, to wherever it is. As a player, eventually it becomes this balancing act of like, do I want to progress the story or do I need to train up my characters? And for me, that gets a little frustrating sometimes because as a player, you want to make sure you're feeling the progress. But gold sometimes, especially with the higher upgrades that you might want to get to improve your character, gets rough. Sometimes because you can't carry everything over to the next run in terms of gold and stuff like that, you have to spend what you earn. And sometimes I don't feel like you earn enough to get a lot of requirements or growth in your characters. And that can get frustrating where you're like, okay, this run, I'm just going to run through everything and I'm just going to collect gold. And like, eventually if I get to World 3's boss to progress the story, great. If not, no worries. And there's been a couple runs where I'm like, I'm doing that approach, running through things, like I said, cakewalk, just because I am upgraded from the past experiences. Get through there, and then I'm like, okay, well, I cleared everything beforehand. I'm still doing okay. I guess I am going to go towards the next boss. And eventually, you die to something, whether you got to the boss and fought them and died, or you just happen to get hit by something too much, whatever it is. And then you get back with your gold, and you don't have that much. Maybe you can get a upgrade, or maybe it's 2, but it's not the things you want. That gets a little frustrating because it's like you feel like you have to do those upgrades in order to progress past the villains or the bosses, because if you streamline it and just go to the boss, it can work, but sometimes you're just getting knocked down over and over and over and over again, and that's where you feel stagnant in the progress. And that's, I would say, I don't think it's against the game. Maybe, like I said, it's more just a personal thing. But that's an area where it's like, that's a little bit unfortunate in terms of like, it can't just be. That's where the game loop stops and it loses interest rather than keeping it. Like I said, could just be me, because there's other games that certainly do that, as we'll call out Dark Souls again. If I'm thinking my time with Sekiro, same idea of like, yeah, there were times I just went back, killed like a bunch of stuff, cakewalk through, got my resources, and then it was like, oh, well, now we're here again. So I guess it is what it is. But I've had a lot of fun with the game. I think it's been a blast playing through it, and I've enjoyed my time with it. I think I put about 15 to 18 hours into it so far. Died quite a bit. I think I got 67 errors or something like that. Like, you can check your chain of characters, which is kind of neat and also sad. Like, oh, yeah, I've been dying a lot. But I'm about halfway through the game so far. I think I'm working towards that fourth boss. So I'm enjoying it, enjoying the story they're telling. I'm enjoying the goofy aspects of it, enjoying the side characters that I've interacted with. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes from here. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like there's a ton more classes that I personally have to unlock. But hopefully the ones that will be unlocked are fun as well and have their little kind of fun gameplay elements that will make me want to play them instead of just sticking with the one or two that I have right now. They all give you different buffs if you level up their rank with them. So completing objectives, defeating enemies, stuff like that, will give you overall benefits. Like your health will be more by 1%, or your armor or whatever. So there's a benefit for dabbling into different characters. But hopefully there's some more fun ones down the line that kind of intrigue me a little bit more. But yeah, Rogue Legacy 2, a lot of fun. If you have an opportunity to play it and you like roguelite games, like Hades, like others, I definitely recommend you give it a try. I don't know if it's on Game Pass. It might be, so obviously that's your jam. Give it a try, and then yeah, if it's on PlayStation Now, so you can try it out over